This is your Senior Moment, brought to you by Senior Guide USA, with your host, Leigh St John.
Well, hi, I'm Leigh St John, and our wonderful guest today is Helice Bridges, also known as Sparky, and we'll get into that in a minute. But Helice is a speaker, trainer, author, and creator of the Who I Am Makes a Difference Blue Ribbon Ceremony. She's also the founder and CEO of Difference Makers International. Helice, welcome to the program.
Well, you are in an enthusiastic spirit. I love this.
Hey, that's the way life's supposed to be, isn't it?
I'm telling you, it's 100%.
Now, before we get into what the organisation is and what it's all about, I'm going to, just sort of, you just need to go into the background a little bit because I'm going to brag on you. So here's some information about Helice. Now, Helice has been featured in Mentors magazine along with people like Wayne Dyer and Jack Canfield, and she's the winner of the Gandhi Non-Violence Award. She's been on the same stage as people like the Dalai Lama and Vice President Al Gore. I'm sure you've heard of those people. She's the winner of the Changing the World Award, and I could go on and on and on. Helice, you don't sleep, do you?
I'm so in the moment that everything is a treasure to me, and I sleep really well.
Well, that's good. That's good. So, Helice, fill us in. What motivated you to start Difference Makers International in the first place?
In the first place, I was very successful in my real estate career, and my husband and I were millionaires, and we had a home on the ocean here in the Pacific coast. And we had all of the luxuries.
Nice.
And the thing that that made me start this is, while my husband was an awesome entrepreneur, he was also a very controlling and intimidating and bullying personality. And he over the 18 years we were married, he just the put downs were so devastating in my heart that they call me Sparky now, but that little light, that spark in my heart, just almost went out, and I was suicidal. I thought about suicide all the time.
Wow.
And so then what happened is I just screamed to the heavens one day. I just got down on my hands and knees and just sobbed and screamed, please show me a way where people love each other. I need to get out of this world.
Yes.
And I heard a voice that said, oh, your life is going to change. You're going to sing, dance, write, and have a musical on Broadway in New York City.
Okay.
And I actually heard it like Mozart would hear music.
Yes.
And I stopped, and I got so excited. I mean, I went from wanting to commit suicide to having a purpose.
Wow.
And I shared my vision with my husband and my neighbor, who both said I was crazy and I couldn't sing, I couldn't dance, I couldn't carry a tune. There's too many books on the bookshelf and forget it. But I went on to I said, well, can somebody give me a coach? In a short minute here, I want to just say that I didn't believe them. I left and I went off and I auditioned for a musical comedy along with 17 to 23-year-old young people.
Good for you.
I didn't know they were Las Vegas and on Broadway performers. I didn't know they were professional.
Doesn't matter?
No, it might have, but I was too excited, like a little kid in a candy factory.
Oh, wow.
And I went down and I auditioned and I sang so horribly off key that people couldn't stop laughing, and I landed the role because they thought I was a comedian.
I love it.
So I realized that being in this musical and performing and was exciting for me, and I left my real estate career. I left my husband right after our first big performance, and I decided I needed to leave everything and get out from the devastation and everything that was harming me. And I went off and I became co-chair of the San Diego Hunger Project. Mm-hmm. And I talked to 50,000 people in 1980 about Ending World Hunger. And that is when people started to come from the audience and say, well, I'm starving myself. I'm going through a divorce. My wife's got cancer. My kids are on drugs. I just lost my job. And I thought I had problems. I was going through a divorce too, and I thought, I don't want to know everybody's problems.
Yes.
But what I did know is that my folks brought me up with positive outlook on life and believed in me. And I decided to create a blue ribbon that said, who I am makes a difference. And I thought, I think I'll go up and just tell people how much I value them, how important they are to me, and cheer them on for their dreams instead of somebody telling me I can't do it.
Nice.
And that's how the blue ribbon ceremony began.
That's just beautiful. And so that's the blue ribbon ceremony. So tell us, Difference Makers International. Is there a difference between the two? Like, fill us in, Helice.
Okay, so Difference Makers International, this was 1980, and about 35,000 people were honored with the blue ribbon in the first 3 months I started. Everybody wanted the ribbon, everybody wanted it. It just became contagious, and then school teachers wanted me to come in and teach this the ceremony to their students, and it began like that. And a man gave me $20,000 for a blue ribbon. I said, sir, I can't take your money. I simply don't know what I'm doing. And I'm not a nonprofit, And he said, I just spent $150,000 with a marketing company to take 3 months to tell me what our mission was. You told me that what you want to do is see every person know that who they are makes a difference, and cheer them on for their dreams and take the money.
Yep.
And I said, I can't even give you a tax deduction because I'm not a nonprofit. And so I started a nonprofit, Difference Makers International. I thought, well, if you tell people that they matter and make a difference, what will I call it?
Yes.
And it was Difference Makers. And that was, I started it in 1983, in January of 1983.
Beautiful. Oh, that's just wonderful. So, Helice, our audience is primarily seniors, but we also have actually a lot of their adult children and their caregivers listening, and etc. But from your perspective, with everything you do with the Blue Ribbon and the Difference Makers International, what do you think is the biggest problem facing seniors today? Because we're talking about changing lives in a minute or less. But
correct.
In order to change those lives, what do you see as the biggest issues and challenges in the first place?
Okay, so what I noticed is that when I go and honor somebody, and this blue ribbon ceremony is a 7-step honoring ceremony, but when I go and tell people how much I appreciate or love or respect them, they burst out crying.
Yeah.
And they will say, nobody's ever told me that I matter.
Yep.
And that's approximately 99% of people on the planet. I've been all over the world.
Yes.
And so I would say that the most important thing is just to stop judging everybody and stop putting people down and telling them what to do. People really want to just be heard and understood and loved just the way they are, and just told what they're doing right instead of what they're doing wrong.
Exactly. And that's a perfect segue into us talking about different models of how you do move from that space into another. There's the problem solving and looking at it from that point of view, or there's starting with the perspective of the acknowledgement. So step us through.
Yes. Okay. So the first thing is, when people have a blue ribbon, it helps. It's like a tool. If you have a key to get in your car, you can drive. If you have a tool of this particular ceremony, all of a sudden, it gives you the opportunity to focus on what's working around you. And all of a sudden, you'll start seeing what you like about people, or what you like about your neighbor or the grocery clerk or whatever. And by looking at them, and here's the difference. You'll tell them, I have a blue ribbon, and it says who I am makes a difference, and I'd like to honor you.
Yes.
And tell you how you matter to me, and then you tell them all the things that they do right.
Yep.
And it could be just tying their shoelaces.
Yes.
Or smiling, or something they helped you with 30 years ago. It doesn't make any difference. But the moment you do that, and then I ask, would you accept my gift? I have a blue ribbon, I bought it. And I said, would you accept my gift? Because most people don't know how to receive.
Yes.
They know how to give and serve, but most of us don't know how to say, oh, yes, I deserve that.
Yep.
So I say, would you accept my gift? And they'll say, well, okay, and they'll shrug their shoulders. May I have permission to place it on you? Mm-hmm. And when they say yes, that's twice they're receiving. I place the ribbon above their heart.
Nice.
And cheer them on for their dreams. And I give them a bing, B-I-N-G. I place my index finger on the ribbon and I go, bing! And that will help all the cheerleaders in the world. There's on the ribbon is a community of cheerleaders jumping for dreams. Uh-huh. And I'll just give them, I'll say, and I'll go bing! And the cheerleaders will jump and they'll say, what's your dream? How can I help you? What do you need?
Love it.
So the possibility language is built right into the ceremony, and it's honoring somebody, telling them what they do right, asking them permission, touching them with love by placing the ribbon above their heart, and cheering them on for their dreams. And I think those are the 5 elements that are almost missing in our societal model.
Yeah, well, and they used to be part of who we are and how we do what we do. And I think you're right. They're disappearing. Even if they're not completely gone, they're disappearing at a very, very fast rate.
Yes, and I just want to bring us back to something. While we didn't talk about all this, things like bullying or putting people down or control, we said sticks and stones can break our bones, but names will never hurt us. Mm-hmm. And so nobody ever complained, and we got kind of passive.
Yes.
Even though it looked good on the outside, what was happening inside families were a lot of abuse, mm-hmm. Physical and emotional, and especially verbal abuse, and we didn't see it as a society.
Yes. Yeah.
And now it's just floating up to the surface, so it looks like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with our kids today? What's wrong with society today? But in fact, it's been bubbling up forever, for generations.
Yeah, it used to be what happens in the home stays in the home. Now it's what happens in the home is on reality television.
It's absolutely true. And here's the good news about it, even though it's kind of ugly, in a way. The good news is that people are now relating to each other. They're now not feeling alone, and hopefully a lot of people are doing something about it. And it really takes good counseling, good personal growth trainings. I've been in a lot of them in the last 30 years, mm-hmm. Because I had to learn how to improve the self-worth of myself.
We all do. At least we're all there if we're really honest.
No, it's the truth, and it's ongoing.
Yep, it is. It is. So now, speaking about like the improving the self-worth, that's what the Chicken Soup for the Soul programs and books, et cetera, are all about. Now, you've had the Blue Ribbon story published in a Chicken Soup book, I understand.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, a lot of the stories that I have are in a lot of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, but one in particular, which went on to be made into a half-an-hour television program, and then it was number 1 on YouTube for 10 weeks.
Yeah, and actually, we need to pause there. Say that again. It was number 1 on YouTube for 10 weeks. This is seriously good stuff.
Yes, it was, I tell you something, because I said acknowledgement and love and respect is missing in our society. This particular story came to me from a teacher in New York, a high school senior teacher, and she bought a bag of blue ribbons, 100 of them, and she actually honored each of her students, her high school students, one at a time. She looked them in their eyes, with her heart. She told them how much they mattered to her, mm-hmm. and she invited them to place a ribbon above their heart, and she cheered them on for their dreams. Yep. And after all 30 kids, she gave each of them 3 extra ribbons to go out in the community as a community project and say, go out, honor somebody, and then give them 2 extra ribbons, have them honor somebody else, and continue to pay it forward. Mm-hmm. And come back and tell the story next week, what happened. And in this particular case, one of the high school seniors went to a junior executive, and he just honored him for helping him with his career planning, cheered him on for his dreams, and gave him the bing, and gave his 2 extra ribbons and said, please, find somebody to honor. That afternoon, the junior executive honored his boss, who was known to be a grouchy fellow bully, And he said, sir, you gave me, you built this company. You're a genius. I want to give you this ribbon and thank you.
Wow.
Thank you for the work that you've done.
Yes.
And he cheered him on for his dreams, gave him Bing, gave him the last ribbon.
And
What
by the
happened-
way, that must have taken some courage for that young executive. If the guy's a grouch and he's the head of the company, and it's like, yeah, I look, yeah. So imagine just how empowered that young executive must have felt to have walked up to a man that obviously was quite intimidating if that was the way he was. I think that also is such a testimony to how different you feel and how empowered you feel when someone gives you one of these ribbons.
Well, Leigh, you're right on this. You're spot on because that is exactly right. Your heart is so open and you're so empowered by somebody acknowledging you that he actually did do that. You're right. And
so I'm sorry, I interrupted your story. So, okay, so he went up to his boss and he said thank you.
But Anthony, you made a really good point. And so he gave the extra ribbon to his boss and told him about the class project, told him to honor somebody. And the boss is driving home in New York traffic. Who am I going to honor? I'll honor my 14-year-old son. And he sits him down when he gets home. And he looks his boy in his eyes and he said, every night I come home, I yell at you for not cleaning up your room and getting better grades in school. But tonight, son, I just want to tell you that who you are makes a difference and that I love you. Aww. And the boy starts to sob and sob. He cannot stop crying. He walks over to a drawer, opens the drawer, pulls out a gun, looks at his dad, and he says, I was planning on committing suicide tomorrow, Dad, because I did not think you loved me.
Wow.
And now I don't have to.
Wow.
And that story got into that, back to the teacher who called me. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh my gosh, that was what I always dreamt, that it was community. I'm here in California, one spark, a teacher in New York, mm-hmm. touches 30 kids, one kid touches a junior executive, then a boss, and saves a boy's life in a minute or less with a blue ribbon.
That's so beautiful. That's just so beautiful, Helice. And thank you, just on behalf of all of us, for being open enough to hear the message and to do something about it right at the very beginning when you were in such a turmoil situation yourself.
Boy, ain't that the truth. I tell you, there's a bigger plan for all of us than what we know.
Yeah. And now, rolling this out, you've just launched a thing called the Era of Acknowledgement.
Yes.
1 billion people, and that's billion, listeners with a B, 1
with
billion people
right.
honoured by the year 2020. Tell us what that's all about.
Well, when we reach 35 million people being honored and the ribbons are translated in 12 languages, and now we do training programs for elementary, middle, high school, colleges, businesses all over the world. Mm-hmm. And my team came together just this year, the beginning of the year, and they decided we have to go from 35 million to 1 billion. That's 1 out of every 7 people on the planet having somebody tell them that their life matters.
Love it.
So we can change the way we communicate from a negative environment to a possibility, proactivity, prosperity, where people can start coming together and making their dreams coming true. And it's all in language. And so right now we've gotten an order, yesterday from, the U.S. Army, in 2 different states. We're a big hospital. We're reaching people and they're connecting us with national and global organizations to get the Blue Ribbon Ceremony into everyone because they all know how important it is to be valued. And the Army says they're honoring all the returning vets because they know that the suicide rate for vets is skyrocketing.
It is, yes.
And so they want to use the ceremony to begin the process of showing how much how value and respected and loved they are.
I love it. So we're talking with the seniors today. Give them an idea on how they might be able to change someone's life in a minute or less.
Well, I would say that the first thing, if you don't have a ribbon, I'm going to also invite you, because we're a nonprofit, to order ribbons from us, like Girl Scout cookies. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, the most important thing is to sit your family down and make a circle and say, you know, once a month we're going to sit down and tell everybody what they're doing right. And just acknowledge each other and make each person can go around and spend maybe 1 minute each just saying what they respect and appreciate about their children, their husband, their spouses, whomever. And I'll tell you, it changes a life.
It does. I mean, even if you're looking at it from a business perspective, I used to teach at one of the world's top business schools, and one of the models that I would regularly bring into my sessions was about a thing called appreciative inquiry. Whereas, whereas most organizations will focus on, well, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, we need to fix it. You know, appreciative inquiry essentially says, all right, here's your lawn, here's your grass. There's a couple of weeds in it. Let's not focus on the weeds. Let's not focus on what's wrong. Let's nurture the grass. And eventually the grass will become just so powerful and so strong that the weeds will just pack up and move elsewhere.
You're 100% correct. And I tell you something, for all of us, begin with ourselves. When we're brushing our teeth in the morning, look in our heart and our eyes. You're going to already be smiling when you're brushing your teeth. And just wink at yourself and say, I'm great.
Yeah, and
who I am makes a difference.
Exactly, who I am makes a difference. And who I am matters. You know, I matter, I am worthy. Yes. Yeah. So, Helice, wrap us up with, how can people order the Blue Ribbon products? Because there's more than just the ribbons, correct?
That is correct. Yes, so you can go to www.differencemakersinternational.org. So it's spelled out differencemakersinternational.org. And you can go online to our store, order products, or call us at 760-753-0963 and ask us about training programs that we can do it via Skype, video. We can, teach you how to actually do the ceremony in your homes, schools, classrooms, neighborhoods, businesses, and everywhere, all over the world.
And even we have a number of our seniors that that are even running larger companies that are listening to these programs. Consider this as well for your organization. I mean, I can speak firsthand that it does boost productivity, it does boost morale, it does boost your customer service, and ultimately comes back to your bottom line profits.
It comes back to bottom line profits, and most great companies. And by the way, I do board meetings, and I show people how to honor each other in a board meeting.
Wonderful.
Oh my gosh. So you're right about this. If you can bring it from the bottom up and the top down, in your organization, in your business, you will watch to see how your customers will flock to you.
Exactly. And Helice was mentioning, regularly, just get your family together in a circle. Or if your family aren't physically there with you, maybe you might like to do a telephone conference with them all, or a Skype conference. Or even, let's say that you're living in an assisted living facility. Get together with some of your closest friends. Get together with some of the people that are working with you on a daily basis. And it doesn't have to be your blood relatives. Just tell someone that what they do makes a difference.
And you know how what you're so laser light on this, because speaking of laser light, is we know that we can now fix our eyes in like four minutes. Because something's laser. When you honor somebody, it's laser.
Yes. So,
and when you have a tool like the Blue Ribbon in this case, which says, let me just say this, it says who I am makes a difference. It doesn't say I make a difference. It says who I am, and everything that follows I am becomes you.
Yes.
So if you say I am great, I am wonderful, I am, appreciative, whatever, it becomes you. If you say I'm ugly, I'm stupid, which a lot of people have that the conversations in your head that are depleting like I used to. So the thing that when my mother was in assisted living, I went down there and I honored everybody, all the nurses and everybody, and then everybody, my mother started to honor everybody that was there.
Yes.
And pretty soon everybody's talking about what's their dream, how can we help each other, and their health increased substantially.
Absolutely. I mean, there's science that backs that up.
Exactly, science that backs this up. And it actually creates a switch that goes on in the brain called the oxytocin. So it's actually a switch that goes off in the brain that actually has people going the square root of an isosceles triangle. and you know, the hormones that are released with acknowledgement, like serotonin, which, you know, takes depression away.
Yes.
That's why we say we can change lives in a minute or less. And I have one small story. Do we have
Please.
a chance?
Yes, go for it, Helice. Not a problem.
Okay, I just want to just say something about my mom, because she's not with us now, but she's with me in spirit.
Nice.
When we moved Mom into an assisted living environment, my mom always, when I was little, she always sang upbeat songs like, "You've got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day."
Yes.
She had every song like that.
Yep.
And I'm 4 years old, going around, and following her and singing the songs, and she used to roll her shoulder while she sang. Well, she had a wonderful voice. Well, when my mom was getting ready to go to the assisted living, we gave her a little party at my brother's house in Florida, and people came together, and Mama wanted to sing "Accentuate the Positive," and I was still in California, and so I sent her the words, but she couldn't read them, so she asked me to make the words bigger, which I did, and eventually I had it at 48 point, which is almost the size of a whole page for each word, but she couldn't read it, you know, and then she said, so I sent it in a audio tape, and she couldn't figure out how to use the cassette tape. But the day that we were there, and we were on this little family room stage, you know, and my brother, my sister-in-law, some of the cousins and family members were there, and we're getting ready to sing. And so I said to Mama, so we started to sing, and she said, "I can't remember." And I said, "Then roll your shoulder, Mama." And I had everybody there rolling their shoulder. Because somehow, physiologically, if you can move your body in a way that you remembered, or have a color in your room that was indicative of when you grew up and that kind of thing, it changes the way you think.
It does.
And so she rolls her shoulder, and all of a sudden she blasts out, "Accent positive." It was brilliant. And we have it on video. And it was done 22 years ago. 22 years ago. I'm 71 now, and my mom was, you know, she was a very vibrant, outrageous, magnificent woman, and I'm glad to tell this story because that's who she was for me and who I get to be for others, to pass on that positive, "I love you, you can do it, thumbs up," no matter what, really.
What a priceless story. Helice, thank you so much. Now, fill us in again the website for people to go for the Blue Ribbon products and the trainings.
Yes, so you can go to Difference, DIFFERENCE, Makers, MAKERS, International.org.
Got it. Difference Makers, and that's Makers with an S on the end, plural.
That's correct.
DifferenceMakersInternational.org. Helice Sparky Bridges, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pure delight.
You're so welcome. God bless.
And you, my dear. This is Leigh St John with your Senior Moment, brought to you by SeniorGuideUSA.com. Have a wonderful day.